All right, welcome to the latest episode of Missions Monday. We are joined here today with Pastor Renaldo Brown. The tables have turned. The interviewer has become the interviewee, if that's even a word. And we're going to continue our theme on origin stories. And we're ready to grill Pastor Ronaldo. We're so excited to hear about your life. And you've been a missionary for over 20 years. You spent on the mission field in Africa, 5 different countries, and we can learn a lot from your faith. And I just want to be encouraged today. And so maybe you could start off by telling us, going back to prehistoric times, and telling us how you got saved and how this desire for missions even started.
Ironically, prehistoric salvation is the same as current salvation. It's the same story. Um, let's see, I got saved when I was 12 years old in Danville, Virginia, at Calvary Baptist Church. Uh, Pastor Reverend White was the pastor of the church. He did a message on hell. And I remember not knowing a lot about God, but I heard enough about hell that was enough for me. So I remember me and my sister got saved the same day, same service, same time. We kind of walked down the aisle together because the way that they used to do church then, when you made a decision for Christ, you had to get up out of your seat and you had to walk all the way to the front of the church. So you can imagine I was 12 and she was 11, and we walked down the aisle together and stood in front of the church with the pastor, and we got welcomed into the church. We got saved, and that's how I got saved. Yep. I've been going to church for a while. My mother was good in that she would send us to church. Even if she had to work, she would send us to church, but she just kept sending us to church.
Mm.
And being in the church showed us salvation,
Mm.
the assembly. So I got saved. Me and my sister got saved, and that's how I got saved.
When did it become real for you after you got saved? There's a period of
Hmm.
time where you're getting to know God, and then when did it become real for you where you decided you wanted more?
Mm, it was religious for a while. You join ministry, you did youth ministry, you get baptized. I sang in the choir. Can you imagine that? And then my voice changed, and then that ended. um, but I think for me, I want to say closer to 15. Yeah, I think I kind of decided in my heart that this was for me, and I started deciding that this is what my life would be about, not knowing where that would take me.
Hmm.
But I was smart enough not to make a lot of vows because I kept seeing myself breaking them. So I said, okay, let me stop promising God what I'm going to do because I'm not doing a good job of keeping that. But
Yeah.
I just determined that God was real and He was in my life, and where He wanted me to go, He would get me there.
Wow. Hmm.
That was pretty much it. It got really serious later on. Um, but at that time, I was serious enough that it was part of my life.
Is that when you met the ministry, or
Yeah.
how did you meet Greater Grace?
I had an uncle who um, Baltimore was a branch ministry back then. I had an uncle who would come and get me for youth ministry.
Okay.
On Friday nights, we go to youth ministry meetings, have fun with that. I used to even go outreach on Friday nights. I used to go Friday nights evangelism downtown. I used to go. So the young people have been going downtown for years, but
Hmm.
we were doing it then, and we would play basketball after outreach. So that was the draw for me. Go soul winning, open gym afterwards. I was like, I'm in. So it was
How
hard
old
for
were
me.
you at this point?
15ish,
Okay.
15 somewhere there. Been saved a little bit, but I was in the things of God. I can't really say I saw a call from God. I can't really say I felt like God was leading me in a specific direction. I just knew that He was in my life, and I was growing content with the reality that He was there.
Hmm.
Um, and yeah, that's what it was when I was by that age.
Hmm.
So it was God being present and God being consistent and constant in my life that just reminded me that something is in my life that's changing, that's leading me. And God didn't seem to be worried about the speed. I didn't feel rushed. I didn't feel like God was pushing me necessarily. I felt like He was showing me, He was engaging me, He was leading me. He was guiding me, but very, very gracious with me. Very, very gracious. Just really merciful. Just he was light. He was
Mm.
light with me. Now looking back, I said, if I were God, I would have been a lot heavier with myself than he was. But he was just gracious.
Mm.
When others were not, he was. So it was a good lesson about the character of God without using the vocabulary. You
Mm.
know.
So you learned to know God's grace personally.
Yeah, I learned it Perio without the names and the titles.
Mhm.
I mean, I got more of the life of the doctrine than the actual. And I was in a Baptist church at the time before I got Jerry Grace, so it was really doctrinal, but I wasn't really living doctrinally. It
Mm.
was kind of like you can be in an environment that's very, very doctrinal, but you're not doctrinal. So you're just kind of surviving and floating in an atmosphere of that, but you're not really engaged. You're not participating.
Mm.
So I got a lot of who God was without the vocabulary.
That's interesting. I just had a friend say that to me
Mhm.
the other day. It's like I'm here. I'm learning about God. I have all this head knowledge. How does that transmit to heart knowledge? How does that apply to me? And yeah. So then, is that when you decided to maybe go to Bible college or?
No, actually, I was at the moment I was very content with the substance of God. I mean, I didn't know the vocabulary, and I was okay with that. I was okay with not knowing all the verses. I was okay with that because He was constant, and I liked what He was.
Hmm.
He was kind, and I was liking the kindness of God. It was very attractive to me. Romans 2:4, the goodness of God leads us to repentance. It was the goodness of God. He was just good to me. Um, I look back fondly on how he handled me. And I said to myself, I would have been rougher, more stricter. I would have been harder on me because I had all these ideas about what I could do. He had plenty. He had a plan for my life, and he was patient.
Yeah.
Um, I would have to say Isaiah 30 verse 18. He waits to
Wait.
be gracious. I can sense in my life he's waited.
Hmm.
He's waited for large chunks of time because right after that, um, I left the ministry altogether. I kind of like went into the world. I worked, um, and I stopped. I just stopped going to church. I stopped everything,
Wow.
and I knew I was saved, but I just was distracted by opportunity in the world. I was distracted by details and things that I felt I needed to accomplish. So I went hardcore after those things, and ironically, in the season in which I did that, the ministry moved.
Hmm.
So when I left, it was a branch ministry, and when I came back, it was the ministry. Baltimore changed. So I came back, and I remember I was working at a restaurant in Southeast DC, and that same uncle who used to come and get me for youth ministry, he came back. I didn't even know the ministry was back. I wasn't even walking with God.
Wow.
He drove down to DC, showed up in my business, and he said to me, "So when are you going to come back to church?" I mean, years passed. Like, what are you talking about? Like, yeah, just come to church with me. I'm like, are you kidding me? So he came down 4 or 5 times, and I was like, no. And then I finally said, okay, God, I'll go. So I went, came in. The ministry was still setting up shop here in Baltimore, um, very new, and I knew no one, which was great. And I
Mm.
remember sitting in the deaf section because I didn't want to talk to anybody. It's a true story. I didn't want to talk to anybody, so I sat in the deaf section. They will leave me alone. So I sat there, and I just remember sitting there, just listening to the message, listening to Pastor. You just remember sitting there listening. I said, I just it challenged me a little bit because I heard things I'd heard before, and I said to myself, they're still true. Um, and I remember going back to work, saying, "Okay, God, um, I like what I do,
Hmm.
and I like what I heard, but I can't see me leaving what I do because of what I heard.
Hmm.
I would be the guy in Matthew 9:9 where Jesus says, "Follow me." I'm like, soon,
Hmm.
not yet.
Yes.
I was very content, and I felt like I didn't feel I wasn't a Christian. I just felt like I didn't want that. And I said, but I remember saying this to God, and you got to be careful when you give God like little secret ultimatum. I'm like, God, if you want me to respond to what I've heard, you're going to have to do something to what I'm doing because I'm not walking away from that. I don't see me doing that. Everything in my life was tied to that. And
God did.
he did. Within 2 weeks or 4 weeks, the company, the regional company I was a part of, was bought by a Belgian conglomerate. They bought the entire thing, and they closed like 16 stores, one of mine. And I got a phone call from my regional boss telling me, "You got two choices, Brown. You can move to Florida, take a 40% pay cut, or you can resign with everybody else." I had to lay off of my entire staff, and then I in turn I had that option. The guy, they said, you can move to Florida, take a 40% pay cut, or you can resign with the rest of them, laid off with the rest of them. And I said, it was so funny. I knew it was God. I said, this is too cool. This is not random. So I said, okay. I took the layoff. I wrote reference letters for all the people that worked for me, and then I in turn remember putting the padlocks on the door, the chain and the padlock, closing it down, done, driving away, going, okay. And I remember the very next Sunday I was in church.
Wow.
The very next Sunday, I said, okay, no job. Very next Sunday. And I'd been around for a while, maybe a month or two. And then someone mentioned to me Bible school. I said to myself, for what? And then I thought about it like, okay, I want to know God. I want to learn about God. And I'm not going to know about God outside of the Bible. And I have to realize I don't know the Bible. I don't know it. Saved since I was 12, but I don't know the Bible. So I said, okay, I'm going to go to Bible school. For that purpose alone, there was nothing about called to be this, called to be that. I just wanted to learn the Bible. So I'm going to go to Bible school. And I thought about taking a class, and then I said, I won't stay. I won't be disciplined. I said, they're either going to go full time or no time. I can't do half measures. And I knew, and some people can, and that's great for them. And I like the idea that you can begin to start, but I wasn't like, that's not my makeup. I would either have to be in or not.
Mm-hmm.
And I knew I had to be that. So I said, okay, full time with no job. So I signed up for Bible school with no job, which was hilarious back then because at registration, you had to put a down payment on. Pastor Byrne was there. He was a registrar at the time. And him and had a running joke. I would write a check and say, okay, don't deposit that yet. Hold that check. That's my down payment for Bible school. Just hold that check. I'll tell you when you can put it in. And I had no job and nothing to back that check. Just hold it. I was hoping unemployment would come, and then I would use unemployment to pay for Bible school. And that's kind of what happened. Unemployment. I kept avoiding Pastor Byrne. He'd see me. I'd duck out. Every room he entered, I exited. It was like, why are you? He said, why are you avoiding me? I said, because that check you got is made of rubber. It's gonna bounce across his parking. We both started laughing, and then he said, well, I'll just hold it a little longer. He held that check to the end of the semester.
Oh, wow.
Quietly, he just held it and said, we'll figure it out. And then he said, he said to me, can I deposit? I said, you can deposit it now. In fact, let me change the amount. I think there's enough to pay for the whole semester. And it was.
Wow.
So I went, my first semester was paid for with unemployment. So that's how I got into Bible school. And then when I went to Bible school, I just kind of continued. That was how I got in Bible school.
Did you count the cost before you did it? Because I was reading Luke 14, it talks about the cost of discipleship, right? And like giving God preeminence over your family, over even your own life. Was there a balance between counting the cost and just making a decision by faith?
I started out early not trusting me. That's why I knew if I went part-time to Bible school, I wouldn't finish. I wouldn't even stay. I would just, it would be an option. Secondly, when I went to Bible school, I had my own apartment in Columbia. I broke my lease and moved out and moved into a dorm. I said, if I have my own place, my own car, my own life, and I'm commuting to Bible school, I won't be faithful. I'll quit. I'll walk away. So I kind of like broke the ties with everything. I said, okay, no longer in Columbia, no longer apartment, moving to a dorm with a bunch of guys I don't know. Pastor Hadley made to open the door for me. He got inside. He got me into 2 Burbage Court. I didn't know anyone in the dorm, but he said, I got your spot in there. So I moved from there, moved in, so that I was in a place where I didn't know anybody, but it was our people. It was the ministry. It was Bible school students. So that helped me a lot. I remember all my friends that I used to hang out with. I just cut them off. I literally cut. They thought I would lost my mind. I just didn't call. I before the term ghosting was popular, I ghosted about 50 people. Just I thought you moved. I heard you swept across the ocean. I heard you join something. Nope, I didn't join anything. I didn't move anywhere. I just said I need to focus. I cut family. I cut friends. I was like this because I said if I'm not that, I'm walking away.
So you made radical decisions,
Oh, yeah.
like 100% commitment, like you were serious about God.
I said if I'm not serious, I can't do it. That's where I was. I was like, quitting is easy. If you leave it, it's like if you make a plan B, it will be your plan.
You had no plan B.
Mm-mm.
How was the mission vision born in your
That was
inside of you? Because
Mhm.
we know that you've been like good 20 years overseas.
I would say I didn't go to Bible school to go to missions. Ironically, my major in Bible school was church administration, which I do very little. That was maybe my major. I didn't have a missions major or a pastoral major, none of that stuff. It was church administration. I remember talking to David Duff about working in the finance department. And I was like, okay, you graduate from Bible school, you do outreach once a week. You give to missions and you work and that was going to be my 1-2 line. That was going to be it. And I was resolved to okay, get married, have 2.5 kids and a small dog that we don't take out for walks regularly. That would be my life. But it just changed. It changed because someone walked up to me and challenged me and said, "Why not?" They asked me, "Why don't you consider missions?" I would say I was around. It's interesting. I was around a lot of people, but no one had ever walked up to me and challenged me directly.
Why not?
Because you can be in a missions-minded family or church or outreach or whatever, and never be challenged. You can never be challenged. You can just kind of exist and hide. Especially in a big church, you can hide. So I remember being challenged. I remember Pastor Billy said to me, "Why not?" And I said, "No one's ever asked me that." And I said, "I don't know." He said, "Okay, pray about it." He was consistent with just softly challenging me, but I prayed about it for a year. I said, because I had never been anywhere beyond. I had never been as far west as Kentucky. That's as far west as I had been. Far north as maybe New York, and far south as Florida. That was my living. I didn't own a passport. I didn't read missionary biographies. I wasn't like all my heroes were not missionaries. I didn't know any personally, really. So I was as far away from missions as you could be. So God had to do something because I would never be involved in missions otherwise. And then after a year, what helped me most in my missions opportunities was my relationship with God. Because I said, okay, God, if you're in it, I'm looking for you in it. I can do it. I'll do it with you. I don't want to have to try to be someone different than I am, but I'm willing to explore that with you. And it was like that. So then I took a trip and I said, okay. I said, if you give me the provision and the opportunity to continue to do that, I'm going to continue to do that.
Where was your first trip?
Overseas, Uganda.
Okay.
I actually, someone said, why don't you go for 2 weeks? Why don't you go for a semester? I said, once again, I gotta go hard to go home. I'm gonna do it. My first trip was a whole year.
Wow.
I just said, let's go. The whole thing, a whole year. I remember on that trip, I had saved some money, but it wasn't enough. So I remember the first few months going there, I didn't have, my support was like $100, $150 a month. It was woefully short. Team leader covered me for rent, covered me for food. He just covered me. It just took care of me. He said, okay, I remember walking everywhere because I didn't have money for transport. So you walk everywhere. Outreach, soul winning, you just walk. It was good. It was, you're young, you're single. You're like, okay, let's go. Let's just find a way. I didn't have malaria medicine, so I kept eating garlic every day. Team house smelled like garlic. It was me all day. And I never got malaria. I never got bit.
Oh, you didn't? Oh, that's
malaria,
amazing.
If you're out there listening and you don't have money for malaria medicine and you're in a malaria region, eat garlic every day. I was doing 2 cloves a day every day.
garlic sausages and Diet Coke, right?
Well, they weren't even in the picture yet. It was just garlic. I was like sweating. It was like I never got sick. I never got sick. I never got bit. Mosquitoes.
So your first experience on the mission for 1 year, what did it do to you?
It answered.
Did it set you on a
Yes.
path to go
Mm.
do
Good
more?
question. I would say it answered the question. I think you got to answer the question. Am I called to it? We're all called to mission, but am I called to foreign missions? Am I called? Am I? You have to answer the question. I think even if you don't like, even if the answer is no, prove all things, right?
Mm.
That's why I'll sit in a room with 50 people. I say, you're telling me that no one in this room is called to foreign missions. Well, maybe it's not on the table. So I remember it took me a year to put it on the table. I was convinced that this is how my ministry is going to be. This is my life. And this is what I think God wants me to do. And God asked me, why not? Can we look further? Right. And that's what missions does. It's like Matthew 9, lift up your eyes, right? Because our eyes are so intermediate and so present that I need God to lift my eyes and lead my eyes to look at my life beyond me. Is there room in your life for someone else? Is there room in your life besides the 50 to 100 people you talk to every day? Is there space for someone else? Can you be somewhere else? Can you live with God somewhere else where you've never lived before? So that challenged me a lot. So let's think the first question, Curio, about what did the first trip do? It answered the question about, for me, my call from God. It doesn't always happen like that, but in my first year, God made it clear it's missions. And I remember distinctly, he didn't make it a country, he made it a continent. It was clear. He didn't say this country. He just kind of made it more of a region, a continent. I said, okay, he's not specific for a reason. Little did I know later it would mean other places. But I said, okay. I remember no money. I remember I got really, really sick in Dar es Salaam. And I remember, I had my face got infected really bad. And I had no medicine and no money. And I said to myself, I have a plane ticket from BA, round trip, missionary ticket, so I can just go to the airport and just take the next flight. So if I want to leave, I can leave. And if there's ever a real reason to leave the field, is when you're sick, you got a swollen lymph node, you're not well, you have no money, come home. That makes sense. And I said, I have plenty of capacity to stay. So I stayed. And I said, okay, God, you show me two things. You showed me that I have a capacity to be here, and you show me that I have a ministry to people that are here.
Mm.
So you've given me a provision for me, and you've also shown me that I can be a provision with you for someone else. And that spoke to me very, very. And I came back focused, actually. I came back to Baltimore like, okay, this is it for me. I can't speak for someone else, but he's answered the big questions. He's answered the if. The when didn't matter, the how I trusted him for, the where I trusted him for, but the if was, is this God for me? I think you have to, that question's got to be answered by everything you do. What is of God for me? Not just what is of God in life, what is of God for me? Missions is always of God. The question is, where is it of God for me? It's always local, obviously. Wherever you are is local, so it's always local. But then how does that work out? It might remain local, or it could be Samaria, or it could be the uttermost parts. I could be called to pray for those areas, or I could be called to go to those areas. I could serve and go, or serve and pray. For me, it was serve locally, but also God led me far to the uttermost parts, to far parts, which is a unique call a little bit, in the sense that it's just different. You transplant your life. So for me, that first trip, I would say, to answer that question about my calling, it also, I kind of learned about ministry, how to minister, how to be in ministry, body life, all those things came out there for me. Also discipline. Yeah, I was horrible with time before the first year. I was great with time after the first year. I remember being in the morning meetings, being the last one in the meeting, like 40 minutes late, half an hour late. I had a gracious team leader. And when I came back on the field, God sorted that out. He sorted that out.
Guess I got to go to the mission field.
I'll just say this. I've seen a lot of young guys go in the mission field, and the strength of their first year is the team schedule. It brings in a discipline, because when you get over there, you're not working, you're full-time vocational missionary overseas. You have a lot of free time.
Mm.
So you have time. I'm not making my bed. I'm not cleaning my room. I'm not, you just don't, you get irresponsible pretty quick. But a team schedule kind of hones you in. I'm supposed to be here to participate in this at this time.
Mm.
And it brings a routine in, a spiritual routine. And many folks that are in the ministry, even at home base, they go to church, but there's no spiritual routine in their life. I read a devotional once in a while. I turn Grace Hour on once a week or whatever. Or there's no spiritual routine. There's no spiritual rhythm in their life. But in other areas of their life, there's a whole lot of routine. I work here, I park here, I drive here, I shop here. But then spiritually, it's kind of just like pick it up as you go along.
Mm.
And I think that's missing.
So someone listening and maybe thinking of missions, listening to you. So I had this question that, oh, yeah, like, am I really ready to go? And or then why not go?
Mm-hmm.
So how much is it like a faith step? And can I like trust God? Like you said, you learned a lot of things in the mission field,
Mm-hmm.
what it is to be a spiritual person and how to minister. How ready do we have to be before we can take that step?
I would say training is key. I would say Bible school helped me a lot. Bible school helped me not just with Bible knowledge, but for ministry, the mind of ministry, the mindset of the ministry, the vision of the ministry, how to be a minister. All of that I got in Bible school, the life of the ministry in the Bible school.
Mm.
Because Bible school is a lot like team life in many ways, dorm life especially. So that helped me. And then there was what really helped me also was a bit of experience in ministry here in church. I did a Bible club before I left, so a couple of years that helped me a lot as well. And then being there, I liked the idea that I wasn't leading in the beginning. It's a rare individual that can go out and lead something from straight from Bible school from scratch. I like being under. It's safe. It's observable. You can sit there and you can glean from observing. There's not a lot of pressure for you to perform or produce, but you can learn the life of missions, and that's the experience. That's more experiential than a class. It's like, okay, I'm on a team. I'm in a foreign country. There's a lot of other lessons to learn. That's important. So I say going is crucial. I love the idea of taking a summer harvest trip. I love the idea of taking a conference, going to a conference. I love the idea of visiting a church that's off conference. This is how the church operates when it's not a conference. I love the idea if you're a younger person thinking about a semester overseas. There's ways you can work things out where you can do Bible school online, but try a semester. If I had my way, every Bible school student would spend a semester somewhere. Every student would spend a semester outside of their home country, outside of Baltimore, at another ministry in Greater Grace. It would be so helpful as far as their experiential knowledge of the vision of the church and the vision of the mission. A semester somewhere.
Hmm.
To sit under someone, a seasoned man of God, at the Bible school, it could set you up and you could really grow. You could really learn what the life of God is in ministry beyond your own boundaries. Like I remember in Zambia, we had someone join us for a while, and I always asked that team at that time. I would always ask team members after their year. I would ask them, "Okay, what did God show you this year? You've been with me for a year. What did God show you this year?" And this person said to me that it works. That what I heard in Baltimore, it works somewhere else. It works. That the cross works. That gospel works. That missions works. Because sometimes you're in your ministry where you are, and you, number one, you're not sure if it works, or number two, okay, it works here. Does it work somewhere else? I've heard when visiting missionaries come that it does work over there, but when you go, you see that it does work. You participate in the working of it, right? The effectual working, you're part of that. So that's huge for your walk with God. It's huge for your testimony. It's huge for your I would say your convictions about the ministry. Like, yeah, I know that works because I've seen it work over there and over here. Not just here, but in someone else's life, in someone else's country, in someone else's continent, in another Greater Grace church. I've seen it work. So then when I speak about it from a place of confidence. Yeah, it's true. It's true.
Yeah. Speaking from confidence, you can tell people about faith and how God actually provides with more confidence when He's actually done that for you, right?
Yeah.
So, how is that? Can you tell us some stories of something where
Hmm.
you grew in your faith because of something awesome that happened and God showed up?
Let's see. Uh, I always marvel at the beginning because I didn't have any money for anything. I literally little things would touch somewhat when you have nothing, little things are like life like stories for life. Like I remember I my support for some reason got cut even further than it was that first year. And I remember um, Linda Schiavelli sent me a birthday card and she put a $20 bill inside of it and it got through the mail. Now, normally they X-ray the mail, especially in third row mailbox. They X-ray the mail. Anything like money or valuables are immediately removed. They X-ray all the mail. They say it's for security purposes, but they're just stealing anything they can get their hands on. So, I back then we didn't have internet. We didn't have like cell phone. All that stuff was not there. We didn't have ATMs. You had to go in the bank and withdraw money. So, um, we wrote letters. I used to write in the '90s. I used to write letters like 25 to 50 a week.
Wow.
Supporters, family, friends. You wrote letters, and you would always go to the post office on Friday because that was mail day. You were waiting for any mail from anybody for any reason. Is it any mail from me? No. So you were getting phone calls and that kind of thing. So you just got any mail? No. So I would always look forward to. And one day I got an envelope from Linda Schiavelli, and it was a little card. Happy birthday, Renaldo, and a $20 bill on there. I took that $20. I went to let's see, it was a Holiday Inn. And I remember going to the lounge with that $20 bill. I was big then. I got expensive dessert, and I got a 2-month-old USA Today because there were no local, only travelers came in with newspapers. I would just read that, reading the sports highlights from 2 months ago, and enjoying that dessert. It was so good. That was like a highlight. I just said, "This is the faithfulness of God. Something simple that that I
Mm.
would appreciate." That was something. Um, I remember there was a season I also was going through where I felt like I didn't see my portion, and this a lot of missionaries
Mm.
have this, particularly in your first or second year or in a new location. If you're on a team, you may not see where you fit in. You may not see your portion. You may not see your value. Of course, you equate that to your value unfairly. You say, "Well, because I don't have a portion, I have no value." So I remember just being very insecure about what am I going to do. Everybody on the team has a job, but I don't have a job. They all have all these things set up, and I'm the new guy. I don't have anything set up. I don't know, and everybody's doing their thing. And I'm like, okay, guys, so why am I here? Why am I necessary? And I remember asking God, like, should I go? Do you want me just to see the work? Because I'm not really doing. I'm doing the schedule, but I'm not really doing anything. I don't feel like I'm doing anything. And I remember God was just gave me one word: wait. Just wait. And I said, okay. So I got into a few little things here and there, but I was just like, okay, wait. And then there was a couple of guys I was investing in, but there was one guy I invested in, and I saw him really respond to God. I
Mm.
said, okay, maybe I'm here for him.
Mm.
That's it. Maybe God put me on a plane. Maybe just like with uh, the deacon, Philip. Maybe Philip, I'm sent across this large geography for one person. Maybe it's for him. I don't
Wow,
know.
that's
And
good.
then I'm investing in this guy. This guy's making decisions. He's in Bible school. He's huge steps for faith. I'm going like, okay. So because of God using me, he's walking with God. Okay, that's fruit. That's a purpose. Okay, I can live with that. So okay, God. And I saw this guy go through Bible school, graduated. Like okay, all right, So I have a portion here.
Mm.
There's something for me to. I saw it, and he knew I needed that. It's like at that time I wasn't confident in God's will, God's plan, God's call. But yeah, that really was for me faith wise. I believe God for something. I waited, and He showed me
Mm.
just a little piece of fruit. Just a glimpse.
Mm.
It doesn't take much.
It showed you the value of one person.
Yes.
If backtrack a little bit, you mentioned that you went for a year? Your first trip was 1 year in Uganda.
Mm-hmm.
Then you came back, and what happened?
Uh, I went back to Bible school, did some more Bible school, and I made plans to come back to you. Made plans to come back, go back to Africa, and I did.
So you graduated from Bible college
Mm-hmm.
and went to Uganda.
Went to
Back
South
to
Africa.
Uganda. Oh,
Mm-hmm. I went to South Africa, and that was quite interesting too.
so you joined. There was a team that went
New
there.
team, new deal, and no one that was in Uganda was in South Africa, so it was a brand new team. But once again, I love the idea of team missions because you're part of something, but everything's not on your shoulders. There's space to grow. When you're not a team, you have to make everything happen. It's all on you. It's all on God, but you sense there's this greater sense of accountability, like everything has to happen because there's not another person that's going to do it. It's going to be you.
Hmm.
So I even tell a lot of guys it's better off when you first go out, go serve on a team somewhere. Get under an experienced man of God. I know you're ready to go set the world aflame and rebuild Jerusalem, but get under someone of responsibility. Get under someone with some seasoning. And maybe they don't have a colorful, flashy repertoire, or they've got this special name, or they're not one of the giants and titans of the ministry, but they've been serving God where they are, and they've been valuable where God has put them. Get under them and grow, lean and grow, right? Lean and grow.
So what would be the key elements that you learned being under a team leader that would then later bear fruit in your life and you became a team leader?
When you're on a team, you learn the value of investment, being invested. And number two,
Hmm.
you learn how to edify. One of the greatest skills of team life is learning how to edify. If you learn how to edify, you're not so critical. When you learn how to edify, you have solutions instead of problems. If you learn how to edify, you don't take turbulence so seriously. If you learn how to edify, you have the greatest opportunity to reveal the character of God. You learn how to edify. And by the way, you have to learn that. That's a skill as well as a gift. It's a skill. We all have to learn how to edify because the flesh is not edifying. It's selfish. So I've got to learn in the spirit how to be edifying. And sometimes edifying is saying nothing. Sometimes edifying is not fingering other things that are not of God, but focusing on the things that are of God.
Hmm.
Edifying might be to see someone who, as they are in Christ, outside of who they are not in Christ. Second lesson I would say I learned on a team of being under is humility and submission. Those are tough lessons. They're ongoing lessons. But you learn your way is not always the best way, and your way might be right, but you're not on a team to be right. You're not on a team to be right. You may be absolutely right about something, and God doesn't go that way. And you're upset because you think God wants the right answer. No, He doesn't want the right answer. God wants His answer, which might not look right to you. So that's you learn that. You learn how it doesn't have to be your way. You don't have to be right. You don't always have to win. You can see value in the whole of the body. You live in the fullness of the body, not the being. You either live in the fullness of the body or be full of yourself. It's one or the other. So that was another lesson. Another lesson on the team was I learned about how to um, how to participate. How to participate. I think you can exist in the work of God, or you can be a participate. You can be forward-minded to participate. Another lesson on the team is discipline. You learn discipline because you're accountable. You learn discipline. Discipline in the way you live your life, and discipline in the way the team operates. You learn discipline. Okay. You also learn. I want to say you learn how to care. I used to always tell the team in Zambia that the unity of the team is the unity of the church.
Mm.
You learn how to care. Whatever mission you're in, the character dynamics of that team will eventually become the character dynamics of that church. It's unavoidable.
Mm-hmm.
So as a team, I learned that as a team member that, okay, if I'm this way on the team, that will directly impact the entire church.
Mm.
I also learned that about being a team leader, that if you are this way with your team, they will in turn be that way with the church. It might not be to the same degree, but it will get there. What else did I learn? I learned also the value of spiritual multiplication. You can do something good, or you can be a part of something great? Am I going to contribute toward the greatness of something, or am I trying to just build my own goodness?
Hmm.
Which one is it? What's my goal? I also learned um, how to forgive and how to be forgiven on a team.
Hmm.
I also learned how to appreciate other people's gifts beyond my own. Those are lessons that you get in a team, I think. And then you learn how to lead. I think also to on a team, if you're going to be a team leader, the best way to learn how to lead is to serve on a team.
Mm.
Serve on a team, and then you learn how to lead a team. It's the rare individual who's never been part of a team who suddenly can lead a team.
Hmm.
You better be Jesus. The only one I know who can pull it off is Jesus, but most of us serving on it, because then you understand from the inside out how teams function, how they operate. You know what's important and what's not important. And then when you lead a team, you focus on what's important. You don't focus on what's not important. But you don't know that without the experience of being on a team.
Hmm.
You just don't know.
Yeah.
This has been such. I think we need to have another episode.
Part two, I
How
know.
about
Hit
that?
the like button if you want part two.
Because we just started. Yeah, there's so
Make
much
your checks
more.
payable too. But I love the idea that the beginning. The beginning is important. Um, be, Setting things aside, making a decision. Like, for instance, it never crossed my mind that I wouldn't finish Bible school. I never went to a semester like, oh, I'm not sure if I'll come back next year. It was, I signed up, I'm committed to it, I'm going to see it through. Seeing it through, um, being committed to see the mission through. See that, I think if I was not that way in Bible school, I wouldn't have been that way on the field.
Mm.
I would have walked away from a lot of things.
So in all of it, you mentioned a few times that you got to know the character of God.
Yes.
And He's kind, He's gracious, He's faithful,
Mm-hmm.
and He leads.
That was the verse I mentioned to you earlier. That was the verse that started me in missions. 1 Thessalonians 5:24. Faithful is He who called you, who will also do it. Because I really believed like He was going to do it. I did not feel I could do it. I didn't. I wasn't one of those guys who went to Bible school with this big vision. I'm going to be a pastor or a bishop. It never crossed my mind. I never even said that I'm going to go to Bible school and be a missionary. No, I was intent to just learn the Bible because I knew I didn't know it. And the first Bible college class I took, I knew I didn't know it. The kids, 16, 17, they knew a lot of Bible, but I didn't know any. And I said, I'm just going to be quiet because I don't know anything about what they're talking about. So I realized I didn't know the book at all. Not even in a devotional way, didn't know it. So, yeah, God does it. Where I'm supposed to be, if I walk with God, He'll get me there. He'll get me there. And He'll do it his way. It's kind of like Jacob with his family in Genesis. When Esau says, can I lead your people? I know the way. Esau, you know the way, but you don't know the people. I know these people. I know which ones are weak, which ones are old, which ones are sick. I know the people. You just know directions. And that's the funny thing about your life. Many people know the right directions for you to take, but they don't know your life. The reason why God is the best person to guide you is He doesn't just know where you're going. He also knows who you are. So He knows how to lead you. He knows the way you take, right? In Job 23, I know the way you take, that when you come through, you'll come through. I know the way you take, but I also know you. I know you. So God's going to lead me different than He leads Andrew. And leads Andrew different than period. But yet He's leading all of us according to our capacity and who we are and our individuality and our call. Yet He leads us. So for me, He was extremely gracious in the beginning. He had never not been gracious, but just looking back, had He been anything different, I wouldn't be here. Had He been any way different, I wouldn't be here. Not even injustifiably, He could have been. It would have been within His rights as God to be there, but He chose not to. What did David say in Samuel 23? Your gentleness has made me great. You know, the gentleness of God, the kindness of God, the light touches. You know, like you see that in 1 Kings 19 with Elisha. He's running from Jezebel in unseen danger, and God is just light with him. God's like, here's some food. Here's some more food. Keep going. You're not done yet. I know when you're going to be done. And then when he finally says, what are you doing? Soft voice, not yelling. He's not wagging his finger. God's finger wrote the 10 Commandments, but he's not fingering you. He's not like this. He just kind of says, what are you doing? Where are you going? What is this? And you hear Elijah just complaining, like, well, and God's like, come on, I have 7,000 people that haven't bowed to me. Come on. And he kind of gets it's like, yeah, okay, all right. Now I've got something for you to do. let's get past this so we can get to what I actually have for you. Just the kindness of God, really. The faithfulness of God, right?
Wow. Thank you, Pastor Ronaldo. This has been a very, very rich episode, right, Andrew?
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
awesome.
So welcome for the next Monday, Mission Monday.